Do I sit here or I'm going to do this? I just announced the way we did before. Let's all sit here together, or do you want to do this coming in and out? That's our
Well, this is the first run through on this one, so we're just sitting basically here. Okay. What's this most close? That's a problem. All right. You start. Girl, that.
This cancer becoming a divorced old man, and this momentarily made her forget the wonderful nervousness she'd experienced the night she and Smitty were at the Absinthe House, and she had a drink with Bobby Du Bois, the bass player from Memphis. The salad was for dinner that evening. She picked up her phone. He answered on the first ring.
Hi.
Marita,
Yes, guess what?
you've come to your senses and realized it would be to your advantage to have an affair with me.
No.
Rob showed up with you and he's going to take you off to Memphis on a Fallon call.
Yes.
Now, don't get too excited right now. The day that Mary's on the rag, a girlfriend in Morgan City has PMS, a wife in Little Rock is suing him for child support. He just wants to get laid.
Can't you say anything nice?
Her feelings were hurt. Smitty was quite good.
He asked you out.
Yes.
You gonna go?
Maybe.
What do you mean, maybe? Maybe yes, maybe no? What's a girl to say, maybe? You were praying he'd call. Don't give me this maybe shit.
It's like praying and hoping difference.
Maybe. When does this momentous event occur?
Next weekend.
Well, we'll have to practice. How did you do on the phone? Did any of the role playing we did at the office help? Were you calm? Did you let up the wedding nets?
Mary Beth changed the subject.
Mitch P. and Cliff to a meeting in the New Orleans chapter of the Louisiana Writers Club this night. What are you doing?
I'm playing with a pickup band at the VFW Post Technology. It's a favor to a friend of mine, plus some extra cash.
What band?
You never heard of them. It's called Twisted Gods. If the meeting ends early, come on by. Maybe you'll need one. You know how those writers are. Anal retentive fucking weird.
Well, Mary Beth did need a drink that night, and she did have one, actually two, although she never made it to the VFW post in Algiers. The first part of the evening went smoothly enough. She left her house at 6:35 and walked up Bourbon Street to Canal to catch the St. Charles Street trolley. It was raining lightly, and she hadn't taken an umbrella, so she was glad to see the trolley making its turn onto Canal Street as she reached the corner. It was already at Petey's there. Cliff was planning to go. It was only a short trolley ride from Petey's, so they walked. Cliff's brand new silver Honda was parked in front of the huge antebellum mansion. Mitch pulled a piece of paper out of his pocket.
Okay, we got to ring the top bell. Chinopsky lives on the 3rd floor.
Do you know any of these people?
She was still mesmerized by Reed Fallon's phone call and had hardly been paying attention at all. She'd even missed Petey's stop on the trolley and had to walk 3 long blocks in the rain to get there.
No, Cliff does. He thinks they'll make a good lender.
The 3 musketeers walked up the stairs of the old blue and white house. The paint was peeling and the inside stairwell was unlit. At the 3rd floor landing, the door was open, and in a very large parlor were about a dozen people sitting on old couches and chairs drinking Rolling Rock beer. Cliff took care of the introductions. Mary Beth tried very hard to catch all the names. Most of the people, only one other woman, were aligned to at least one small press magazine. The host, a self-named jazz impresario, gave Mary Beth a catalog of all the magazines and asked everyone to introduce themselves again. Mary Beth was still thinking about what Reed Fallon looked like and missed this second intro. Also, sat down on an old mustard-colored couch, sandwiched safely between Mitch and Petey. Cliff sat in a straight-back chair next to Mitch. Someone handed Mary Beth a beer, which she never got to drink, and asked her if she wrote.
Just for the paper.
Telling herself that she should try to concentrate, this was work, but no one had mentioned taking notes, so she didn't bother to take out her notebook. Anyway, all she would have written was Reed Fallon's name over and over again, with little hearts around it. Cliff never took notes. He expected one of his staff to always be ready to write, usually at a moment's notice. Petey took his cue from the idleness of his co-workers and picked up the discarded beer bag from the floor as his notebook. Petey liked writing on paper bags. When Mary Beth What Mary Beth did notice was the strange and frightening dance between the one female LWC member and one of the men. He was obvious to take his eyes off her. She changed her seat 3 times. So did he. Finally, when this part of the dance was over, he was sitting next to Petey. The woman was on the other side of the room, still trying to avoid his stare. Maybe this was normal behavior, Mary Beth thought, although she didn't believe it. No one else seemed to notice, but just as soon as Beth was sinking into the fantasy of her dream date with Reeve Fallon, Petey nudged her.
Look at this guy. Is he crying?
Petey looked worried, and this is rare. He usually only looked worried when Cliff was searching for something important on his desk, like their paychecks, which he always managed to misplace under that bare mountain of papers. Mary Beth looked in back of Petey, and yes, the lead in this frightening mating dance was lying on his side, sobbing. No one did anything. Their indifference was a shock to the arts and entertainment staff. They loved when one of their co-workers was upset, an excuse to go out to lunch in the quarter and spend the afternoon drinking. But each of the members of the collective only took another beer from the beer cooler in the middle of the room without saying anything. Maybe they had to ignore him. She looked to Cliff for a clue. He knew these people. But Cliff wasn't giving out any opinions, so she began to flip through one of the magazines that she had received when she first came in. Bad text. It was the Woman's Mag. Mary Beth missed it when the man got up and walked over to his target, and when Mary Beth did look up, he was already pulling the woman's long blonde hair.
We don't have a Dr. Jones.
Don't try one me, bitch. Yeah, take a good look. See what you done to me.
That was great.
Mary Beth's initial instinct was to jump up and go over to the woman, but Petey looked ominously at her, and she stayed where she was. What transpired in the next 10 minutes would keep the arts and entertainment staff in court for the remainder of the spring and would completely deplete the budget of the New Orleans chapter of the LWC. The jazz impresario, whose mansion, his sole inheritance, they were in, stood up and told the drunk man to leave the woman alone and leave the premises. The woman, Ellen Zappo, had been engaged to him. Mary Beth found this out later. And the drunk Dr. Jones, a philosophy professor whose tenure had been denied at Loyola only 2 weeks earlier, refused to leave. So Cliff, a true Southern gentleman, who, no matter where he was, always acted like a boss, stood up and in his most serious newspaper voice also asked Dr. Jones to leave. Jones retaliated by calling Cliff a faggot and punching him on the left side of the head, knocking his glasses off. In absolute horror, Mary Beth went down to pick them up. Cliff didn't know what to do, neither did anyone else. When Jones proceeded to wipe his runny nose with his left hand, and then wipe his left hand on Cliff's white shirt. Mary Beth, holding Cliff's tortoise-shell glasses, winced. She looked to Petey and Mitch. Her do something.
Or do something, look.
Do something?
No, do something, look. It's just the spacing. It's weird.
Oh.
It's just an adjective.
Okay. Look, prompted Mitch. Her do something look prompted Mitch to walk up to Jones and suggest that Jones leave. At that point, it seemed as though Jones had enough. Mary Beth sat down in the chair next to Ellen and asked if she was okay. The jazz impresario, the tall guy whose name Mary Beth never caught, and Petey stayed with them in the parlor as the remaining crowd of men followed Mitch into the hallway. As soon as Jones hit Mitch, and Mitch, who had grown up in pretty close proximity to the Elysian Fields housing projects, and for whom a fight with some drunken, untenured philosophy professor seemed a sure victory, swung back with incredible ease and pleasure. The crowd of small press publishers were on the side of the newspaper man. Jones was a dirty fighter. He bit Mitch on the forearm, and as soon as Mitch recovered from his scream, he found both of his hands around Jones' cleanly shaven throat. 2 hours later, in the emergency room of the Truro Infirmary, he told Mary Beth he could have killed Jones, but during the event itself, he was scared and almost glad when the professor said,
We need Dr. Jones again. Let's call it a draw.
Let's call it a draw.
But it wasn't a draw. I should have thrown him down the fucking stairs.
he told Mary Beth later as he sat in the emergency room with her, Petey, and Cliff.
Right, and then the police would have to get involved. Headlines in our own paper. R.H. Ryder kills ex-Loyola professor with small press cracker. No, thank you.